Hey, thanks for stopping by the Center for Equus Coaching. This is a place where we explore how partnering with horses can shift the way we relate to ourselves, each other, and the world around us. I'm Travis Stock, one of the instructors for the center, and I'm excited to continue introducing you to the team behind this work. Side note, make sure you poke around on our YouTube channel as there are more videos where you can meet some of the other members of our herd and learn more about the programs and certifications we're offering. Today, we're continuing our Meet the Team series with the newest member of our instructor team and our student coordinator, Lori Moskal. Plus, we'll also be talking about our upcoming Fall 2025 cohort of the Equus Coaching Course. So stay tuned as we get into some helpful details. All right, so let's get into it. Lori, thanks for joining me.
Yes, I'm happy to be here with you, Travis.
I am having so much fun doing this, introducing all the people out there in YouTube land to all of the different people behind the scenes that are making this work happen. And you hold such a unique role in our program, being our student coordinator, somebody that's doing the conversations with people as they're just starting to dabble in and decide whether or not they want to become Equus coaches. So I think you have so much information that maybe a newbie to our work needs to know that you can help answer in our conversation today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I get a
Cool.
lot of great conversations.
Yeah, great. So before we do that, though, let's get to know who you are. I mean, you're an interesting person in all of your own. So tell me a little bit about your background before becoming an Equus coach. Like, what have you been doing in the world?
What have I been doing in the world? Well, I started out in the world, not to go way, way back, but
Yeah, how far back are we going?
way back as an archaeology student doing archaeological studies out in Italy is where I did a dig. And while I continued on to do conservation work for a time after that, what I really discovered is I didn't want to be working with objects and, you know, history in that regard. I really wanted to be diving deeper with people. And that was just sort of the beginnings of that. And so where that led me was to be moving more into work in the academic field in the university setting. I went to work as an academic advisor for the University of Washington, eventually became a counselor and worked at other four-year universities, the University of California at San Diego, University of California at San Marcos. This isn't really my resume listing, but all that to say, a lot of big four-year universities.
I
So
think that's
I
one of the reasons that is so like one of the parts of your background that I love the most that makes you so tailor fit to our student coordinators. Like you've worked around students for a while. You
Yeah, and I really do enjoy the discovery process. I think from my time of working with art students in particular, right, there wasn't a specific end game that always sounded like something that fit neatly in the world. And so honestly, they were kind of my favorite to work with because it really was possibilities were kind of endless. And that's something for me that's really resonant. And I do feel like I bring that into the work with the horses, although people have a much more kind of specific thing here with the horses themselves.
That's so interesting because we're such a community of people that don't fit so nicely down a career track. Like this
Yeah.
whole thing of Equus coaching is sort of new and interesting, and it's not one of the degrees you can check off at college, or there's not one of those things that most people have seen before or even know is possible. So you've been working with our kind of people for a long time, it
I
sounds
have. I
like.
think I've been in training for a long time for this. I do actually. Yeah, it does fit in that regard.
Uh-huh. Beautiful.
Yeah.
What were you doing beyond sort of the university life?
That is primarily where I was.
Hmm.
And then when I moved up to the Bay Area, I was running the Career Center at a small liberal arts college in Oakland.
Hmm.
So I counseled, advised, art department,
Hmm.
restoration work for a time, and then I moved into coaching,
Hmm.
um, which in many ways was very eye opening for me. It definitely gave me some much more hands on skills. I think applicability even in working, with at the time students and then clients, but had been a writer growing up.
Hmm.
So for me, I actually thought I was going to be a vet when I went to school. And then, I took OChem and all the chems and went, no, I don't think so.
Nah.
I don't
Nah.
think that's for me, actually. Um, and always had in the back of my mind, how will horses integrate back into my life someday without, though, I was living in big cities. I just really didn't know what that would mean. But when I got into coaching, and then found someone, at the time, Coel was working
Mm,
with the horses, and I went to a conference, I guess you would call it, for the program that I was in and saw Coel do this work. And I just thought, wow, how cool to be able to integrate some personal development and some learning with them, with the horses. So that was like, that's for me. Got to
that's
do
for
that.
me. For those of
Hmm.
you that are new to our work, Coel Simpson is the founder and some of the person that most of us learned a lot of what we are now doing today, and what we've evolved it into. And so, just to give people a little background on who you're talking about when you mentioned Coel,
Yeah.
that's an interesting switch you made that I resonate with. Like, many of us as instructors were doing things before we became coaches. And I was a social worker and I transitioned into coaching. You were counseling and now you switched into coaching. Like, what was it? What made you want to make that switch from counseling to coaching?
Yeah. I really thought long and hard about doing my doctorate at the time
Mm,
before I moved into coaching. But I didn't want to diagnose. For me, there was some very specific things that I wasn't as interested in. And I really liked the angle with counseling that was very proactive, very, for growth, for prevention, for what can we do kind of in the learning and development before things get bad, so to
mm-hmm.
so to speak, right? And so coaching, I felt like, did offer that to me. And also, there was just my own personal growth, my journey that I was on, some things that I was seeking. I was very much a walking head. I can
Mm,
still be a walking head on some occasions. And that is very much so the invitation to really come into the body or to even talk about it at all. That wasn't part of my training. It wasn't part of my world before
mm-hmm.
I came into coaching and started seeing people talking about, oh, embodiment and just noticing feelings and that they can have information. That was very new and interesting to me.
Mm.
So I think that's really was the foundational thing that's kind of kept me learning and growing and seeking information. Probably done, I don't know, 6 or 7 coach trainings at this point in my
Same.
development. And
Same.
I love it. Like, there's just always something more to learn. And so I really appreciate the continuing growth that it offers.
Yeah. You mentioned that body piece. I think a lot of people probably resonate with being a walking head, like
Yeah.
living in the world cut off from the rest of ourselves, just trying to think
Mhm.
our way through lives, trying to control reality through the way we think about it. And a lot of our culture is very mind based, head based. And so I think a lot of people might like feel that and understand what you mean by that. But they think that your own process that you've gone through and the training you've gone through about getting into the body is part of what makes you unique as one of our instructors, and an added depth that you bring to what we do, which is getting into the somatics, getting into the body, the way the body processes information, the way it processes stress, all of the stuff that happens from the neck down. And I know you're into somatic experiencing and you're a somatic coach. You want to share a little bit about what that means to you, as it relates to what we do as Equus coaches?
Yeah. I mean, somatic experiencing can and does work directly with trauma, but it's also stress, right? We all carry stress. There isn't anyone, I think, that would disagree that we live in a stressful world, a stressful time.
I don't
And
know what you
so
mean. I'm not
I
stressed at
know,
all
right?
during this timeline. There's nothing to be stressed about out there.
Nothing. No, nothing at all. I guess if you keep your TV off maybe and you stay inside,
uh,
but even then that's
and
stressful.
and put this thing that we all carry around
That's
all the
right.
time.
Oh,
Put
yes,
that
I
down.
forgot
Don't
about
pick
that.
that up, and don't talk to anybody else.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Uh-huh.
Um, and just the ability to be able start to acknowledge some of that for ourselves, some of the way the body feels, the way we override,
Hmm.
the way and sometimes how we need to, right? Like there's all these different things that it's not really a this or that, but a both and. But that means including the body because, as you said, we can be very intellectual as a culture, which can serve us, right? And then it also drowns out a lot of other things that are really important. And so it does really become more about integration and also being able to, I think, address some of the things that we talk about a lot, things like boundaries, things like communication that's actually coming from an aligned place rather than reaction, right? So the body plays a big part in all of that. It's just that it hasn't really kind of had its focus, its kind of heyday. I
Hmm.
think it's getting more of a heyday,
Hmm.
but it's a slow process. So kind of going back to the stress though, that I often work with, it's sort of completing some of these patterns, right? That can get stuck. I think one of the things that also was part of my growth as a coach would work with people, and even in my own journey, and there kind of was this place where it kind of dead ended. And I would be like, okay, yeah, this is good. This is better. But there's sort of something still here I haven't touched. And I was both curious and frustrated, if I'm honest. I'm like, okay, there's something more here. And I would learn some tools, and the tools could be helpful, but only for a time. And so for me, I was really, okay, so what's underneath this? What's really happening? And that's really where learning to tune in more to the body, and also to be able to do some variations of parts work. I've been doing more interrelationship focusing, like being able to actually suss out some of the inner dissonance, right? And notice that this part creates this or that part creates that, and how do I actually help these parts within me come to a place of greater understanding so that I can move forward with certain decisions, or even just freer energy to flow.
Mm.
Um, so different things, different parts
Yeah.
going on there.
I bet as I was listening to you, because I resonated with it, I bet other people resonate with that feeling you discussed of working through your own personal work and working with coaches or therapists or whatever. And you get to a certain point, but there's something untouched. There's still something that you can feel that is unresolved, that is incomplete, that is below the words. And I think a lot of people feel that way and feel sometimes bummed out when they go to a therapist or when they go to a coach and they can only get to so far, and then they're like, well, I guess I just have to deal with that part that's still left over. And I just have to muscle my way through life. I love that you brought that up and that you have found your own pathway into some of what those depth parts are. And while I don't have that training in the somatic experiencing stuff, I think horses can teach us a lot about being in our bodies. That's
So
a
much.
1,000 pound animal. That's a big body that is, they do have a mind. They do have a very intelligent mind, but they don't over rely on it the way that we do. They're much more body focused than we are.
They're the very definition of being able to be embodied,
Uh-huh.
have a response, not have any head flack over it. We're not going to get all into the inner dissonance, right? It is, I'll move this way, I won't move this way, right? We talk about this a lot in Equus, how there's no story there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think many people are looking for more of that freedom. How do we kind of move out of our own stories so that we can go one way or another, right? And the horses very much so invite us into embodiment by their sheer size, by their sheer presence. And so, to your point, some of the most profound things where it happened quickly, not because it needs to, but because I have had profound experiences of, oh my gosh, when I'm with a horse in the round pen and something happened, I went, oh, it's that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is what's happening here. And I don't just understand that intellectually, I understand it because I'm here in my body. I can't be anywhere else when I'm with this animal. I mean, you probably could, but you know,
I've tried. I'm not very
yeah,
good
me
at being
too,
outside
actually.
of my body. I've tried being not present and
Right?
it doesn't usually work very well.
Yeah. And so there is really profound learning. And I do think we follow that up with
Mm-hmm.
integration, but that's all kind of part of the Equus coaching process. You need to be able to kind of go out, do the learning, have the time, come back, integrate. What is the small thread you're pulling through, the
It's
stitch?
the beautiful part of our partnership that we as coaches can really talk to people about their thinking, about the story they're telling, about the emotions they're feeling. But horses don't know any of that English language. They don't know the story. They don't know the words behind all of it. And so they're listening below that. And
Hmm.
that's always that partnership between the human and the horse creates this ability to get in deeper and to get to what's below the words, to feel what's in there, to get curious about things that don't make sense in the response of this animal that feels something and doesn't second guess itself,
Yes.
isn't trying to make you feel better by ignoring what it feels.
Hmm.
It's just
Totally.
responding the way it responds, and we get to utilize that as information to get curious about, because there might be information that does tap into those missing pieces that sometimes get left unaddressed in traditional coaching and therapy world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When you're working with Equus clients, do you have any like uh, specific examples that come to mind of like powerful moments you've witnessed with a client, or an insight a client had through their working with a horse?
Hmm. I mean, I think some of the bigger ones that come to mind right now, or maybe more profound, not big. I've left that behind a long time now, by 10
Mhm.
minutes. Like that day.
Oh, you're
That
so evolved.
I know. That's what I
Wow.
love to bring to the table. Is
I feel
my
so
total.
deficient now
I
because
know.
I'm still holding on to the big word.
Yeah, yeah, right. But you know that the small can be powerful, and to
Uh-huh.
really, be able to witness and honor that. But the asking for help,
Mm,
I think that it can be very difficult, again, culturally. This sort of inter dependence thing. We don't really. We're learning. I think we're learning, or relearning is probably a better way to put it. But at this moment in time, I think the ability to be able to say, "Hey, I could use some support."
mhm,
Um, and when people get that, and then all of a sudden you're standing out there with them, and their body just goes like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not alone,"
mhm,
or "I this is okay, and this doesn't make me less of anything." Right?
mhm.
There's something really profound and very, very sweet about that.
Yeah. I see that all the time. Some of my favorite work is to work with men utilizing the Equus coaching experience. And, I know a lot of men who really struggle asking for help.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that this experience can invite them into practicing something new, and they can see that it can be safe. It doesn't have to be some big scary thing that means something about them as a person. So,
Mhm.
oh, I love that you shared that, because I think so none of us get through this life alone. We need help. And yet we're trying to believe in this sort of like individual, go it alone kind of thing. And horses get it. Safety in numbers. That it's a
Mhm.
community. That's a herd. That's for a reason. They know that the least safe place is to be alone and isolated.
Yeah, it is one of my favorite things about this work, because it,
Mm.
it even as a coach, sort of even the nature of where coaching originates, right? I mean, actually, I shouldn't go back all the way in history, because I don't know I couldn't speak to that right now, but
Mm-hmm.
I know at a certain point, my own understanding of it was someone has goals, and they want to reach their personal goals. And so get a coach so you reach your personal goals. And by the way, I like personal goals, so nothing against that. And there is sort of more, can be that individual, rugged, go
Yeah.
it alone path with it. So the horses are like, hey, we're herd, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And it is nice, even just by visually seeing them as the herd, that we get invited into that mentality, or that energy rather. It's pretty remarkable. We don't even have to
Mm-hmm.
do anything, and neither do they. Just
Yeah.
say, hey, you can do it together.
So let's talk about our fall 2025 cohort that's coming up. Let's get logistics out of the way up front. So tell me some of the important dates people need to know for this cohort, and maybe on-site locations.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just the quick differentiation. So, we do offer the program twice a year.
Hmm.
And so, there's a spring program and there's a fall program. And the biggest difference with these programs is the location for our on sites. So, the on sites for the spring program run out of Paso Robles, California. So, that's the Central Coast. And then for the fall program, they run out of Scottsdale, Arizona.
Hmm.
So the program is going to start for fall on September the 16th. That's a Tuesday. And all of the classes, there are 32 Zoom classes, will be on a Tuesday. So 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And then that'll run all the way till November. So it's about 14 months, our program. It's a really wonderful amount of time to dive in, dig, dig deep if you'd like,
Mm-hmm.
and do some really great work. And so the 3 4-day on sites for our fall program, again, running out of Scottsdale, Arizona. So I'm going to take a quick look. So November the 13th to the 16th is going to be the first on site. That's roughly 10-ish weeks into the program. And then the second on-site is April the 23rd to the 26th. So that's 2026. And then a final on-site is November the 12th to the 15th, 2026. So like I said, a good amount of time to really be able to sink into the material. We have people come in who have been coaches, and they're really looking now to partner with the horses, or to maybe they want to do their ICF credential. We are accredited by ICF. Our program has the educational requirements, the mentoring hours, the recording needed, all of these things you would need when you become a certified Equus coach. You can then go on through ICF itself to do their certification process. They have a few other things needed, hours of coaching and an exam, but that's all through them.
It's all, I think what you're pointing to is how, something that sticks out is like how robust our program is. I really value that. And obviously we're both biased. We love our program. Yes, we
Yes.
are very into it. And, there's other programs where you go for a weekend and you can get a certificate of completion and people are out there. And I there's so much to learn to become a coach. There's so much to learn about how to be safely around horses, to help other people be safely around horses, that I really value about the robustness of our program. You mentioned that classes are on Tuesday. What if you're somebody that's like, I work and so I can sometimes be there present live and sometimes I can't? Is that a problem for our students?
It's definitely a question that people ask.
Mm-hmm.
People have lives and they want to
Yeah.
fund them, and that's good. So every class is recorded. So we do have recordings of these 90-minute classes. We certainly understand that people are going to need to miss a few, if any. We also really encourage the people to show up as much as possible. This is a cohort. You are investing not only in the education, but also in the people, because you're learning coaching. You're going to be doing coaching live in class. So you definitely want to make sure that you can attend. Certainly for the on-sites, this is where we see and are with the horses. It's absolutely required to certify and to be part of the program that you're able to make those on-sites. Now, we'll certainly talk with you and work with you to see what we can do in certain circumstances, extenuating circumstances, but ahead of time checking in to see that you can make all of those is definitely something that's important.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. You mentioned that as like a question that people frequently ask. What other frequently asked questions do you get when you're like, as I mentioned before, you're somebody that talks to people who are considering our program quite
Yeah.
often, in that early stages of exploring this. So, what are some of the frequently asked questions people ask?
Yeah. People are definitely curious sometimes, just what do you do after with
Uh-huh.
this? Which is, it's an interesting question, right? Because this kind of takes me back to my art days.
Mm,
It's not a set path. I think this is true of any profession, some more than others, I guess. But it, particularly to this, it matters what you want. It matters who you want to work with. It matters if you've already have an established practice. It matters how you feel about readiness when you complete the program at that last onsite, right? All of this matters. And so in terms of specifics, we do spend time within the program, uh, looking at things like, who are you? What do you want to do? How do you
uh-huh.
want to carry this forward? What's it like to contract with a barn, right? What types of specifics do you need to know as a business owner? Because you are running your own business. And one of the things I emphasize most with people, whether they've been working with horses or not, is to really utilize that volunteer experience time to be delving into places that feel good to work at, to be delving into relationship building. And if you feel like there's something specific that you're kind of missing a little bit in terms of, maybe I want more coaching hours because I already have horses and I've been doing XYZ for 30 years, then we want to be focusing on the things that are really going to help support you to feel confident and comfortable moving forward with your practice in your own timing. But certainly, that's our goal. We want you to
Hmm.
feel good about doing this so that you
Yeah,
can carry forward.
what I hear in that is that we actually do have a kind of a lot of different types of people that come into our training. We have people that have no horse experience at all. I was one of those people. I had ridden a couple times as a kid, but I didn't know how to be around horses safely. So we teach all of that. There are some people that come in with no coaching experience but are comfortable around horses, and so we teach the coaching part of it. We have people who are therapists that want to add an experiential model of learning that we do through Equus coaching. There's people that have neither the coaching nor the horsemanship experience, and so we got to learn all that. So the learning is really tailored to every single person and where their strengths are, but where their areas of growth are. And we can really make this worthwhile. And I think also that piece you were saying, like so many of us get into coaching because we love coaching people, because we love the personal transformation that's possible, but there's a business to it too. And so there are things about building relationships with barns, legal contracts, all the ways that we structure a business and get started in our practice. And so those are all parts of our course too, that are available for people who are looking to gather some of those skills that they may not already have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you mentioned there's 3 on-sites to this.
Yep.
What differentiates each on-site? Like, are the people learning the same thing each time they go, and just practicing the same skill set, or is it new each time?
So it's new each time. So our first on-site is really the opportunity, as you mentioned, some of the horsemanship that is needed to be an Equus coach, right? There are some people who are coming in new. Even those that aren't, we go over some basics that are very essential to the Equus coaching process. And then you're the recipient of Equus coaching basically for the rest of the time at that on-site. It really gives you the opportunity to get to know your cohort, to start to look at some of the things that may be part of your own personal growth journey that you're going to want to focus on while you're in the program, right? Some of the things that might be challenges, some of the things that might be easy. You get to see what it's like to be on that side of the round pen, so to speak. So that can also give you some more information about what your clients might be feeling when they are finally in the round pen with you. And also kind of a really beautiful opportunity to watch your colleagues get
Mm.
coached. There's a lot of different great vantage points at that on-site for you to take in information. The second on-site is where we first start to marry the skills of coaching and partnering with the horses. So you'll be coaching, students will be coaching each other at this on-site and getting feedback from instructors, sometimes part of the mentor team as well. And then that third on-site is when we have 2 days of review, and then the final 2 days, we bring in some clients from the outside. I always love saying that. It's like they're coming in from somewhere. We bring them in from the outside. Um, and basically, you're doing the coaching, and that's part of the certification process.
And I want to go back to what you're talking about at the first onsite. I think that's such an important value of what we bring to it, but I think is something important that people need to know, that we aren't just teaching a skill set. We're also teaching about personal growth. And we believe that in order to be able to offer that to other people and to really be able to hold space for the people, you have to know how to do it within yourself. And you have to kind of live it to give it. And so that first stanza, you will get coached, you will confront vulnerability, you will confront all of the pieces that we ask our clients to. And it's about giving you an empathetic experience of what your clients are going to be going through, because if you can see what that feels like inside yourself, you might be able to really like actually empathize with what that comes up for them when they're in there, and it'll help you know how to navigate it because you've already figured that out in yourself. And so we are teaching a skill set, but this program does require us to be vulnerable and to do our own personal work as a part of the process. And I think people need to go in wide eyed about that, because we're gonna go there with you.
Mhm. And it's to your benefit. I mean, you're
Yeah,
your first client, right?
yeah.
That's pretty much, you're going to be your first client in the program, and that's to your benefit. I mean, people don't start this because they want to do the same thing.
Mm,
You're coming in because you want something else on the other side, and
yes.
all change requires, vulnerability and growth, and 1 degree shifts as they come.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure. So if somebody's like kind of looking at our program and they're going, I also know of this other coach training. So would you say differentiates our program from their program?
yeah, I mean, there are many programs, right? At this point in
Hmm.
time, there are many. I really think a really key part of our program is our focus on relationship to self, relationship to other, relationship to environment. I think that outlook, it sounds so simple, but there's so much impact in that. And there's so much, again, kind of going back to what we talked to about the body, there's so much that needs to be embodied as part of that process. And I really think our program, and Equus coaching in particular, offers people a unique vantage point into not just learning to solve things from their mind, but learning to truly partner with the horses and to understand how their energy impacts the space, right? How things land, how things don't land, maybe to really even test some of the things, the beliefs and the way that they're moving in the world, how that's actually working. And, to my knowledge, there isn't as much, well, I shouldn't say, but what I know to be true of Equus coaching is there's a lot of freedoms to explore that.
Yeah.
And a really great and wonderful way to unpack that with a coach that's been trained incredibly well in all these different areas of, from body to metaphor to, open ended questions that are powerful. There's a lot of depth in the program.
Yeah.
That's the shorter answer. There's a lot of depth in the
I
program.
I love that. And I think having you and I both have done many different coach trainings. And one of
Yeah.
the things I really love is what you're pointing out, that it is a place to test our belief systems and the way we show up and get real time feedback on how it's impacting the environment, the relationship. But it also gives us an opportunity to experiment with new things. We get to try things different than we normally would and see how that changes the feedback we get. We don't always get that so much in our human relationships, that quick turnaround. We don't always get that in other kinds of traditional like talk therapy or something. We can have insight, but to actually put it into application and check out the experiment, see what new feedback we get. I think
Yeah.
I love that part of our program and what we offer. And it's different than what is maybe available in some other versions of coaching. Is there anything else that comes to mind that you think people should know about our program and about the fall program that's coming up this September?
Yeah, I think it's really important to know that we do, depending on where you live, we offer demo days so that
Mm,
if people are interested in getting an experience, which I do recommend. I mean, I do have quite a few people who come in and they've never seen it or, experienced it either as a participant or watching, maybe seeking out some kind of opportunity. And now with the YouTube channel running in the way that it is, I would definitely invite people to explore that, see what your questions are. It is an investment. It's an
yeah.
investment of your time, of your money. We want you to make an informed decision. And so I think, being able to see if there's even an Equus coach in your area, if you may want to participate in a session, those are always really good ways to get more of an embodied experience yourself of whether or not this is right for you.
Such a good point. And thank you for bringing it up, because I'm hosting one of those demo days. If somebody's interested in the Seattle area, just south of Seattle in Auburn, Washington, I'm hosting a demo day with my co-host, Sue Willoughby, who's another Equus Coaching Master Facilitator. So if you're in the Seattle area, if you're in the Pacific Northwest and you want to check that out, August 9th, it's a Saturday, we're going to be doing a demo day. So you get to see what this is. It's a really low investment, it's $25 just to come. And if you want to see and experience what this is, we're also going to be doing some coaching of people that show up so that other people can see what the actual coaching is, not just the horses. So August 9th. We'll make sure there's a link in the show notes so that you can actually find that as well. So thanks for bringing that up. If anybody's interested in finding an Equus coach around, if you want to experience this, if you're not in the Seattle area and you want to find an Equus coach who might be hosting events or might be able to do one-on-one coaching with you, we'll make sure there's a link in here for how to find an Equus coach in your area. We have a whole directory on our website of all the coaches that are out there. If you're somebody who's interested in training as an Equus coach, you want to actually be somebody that's offering this. Again, our fall training starts in September. Remind me the first date, September 16th. Yeah, 16th. So you have a little bit of time to get in there, but let's make sure to sign up if you're ready to go. You can go to equuscoach.com in order to find more information about that. I'll also make sure there's some direct links for all of this down in our description of the video. Thank you so much, Lori, for joining us, for being our student coordinator, helping manage all of those questions that everybody has. It's such an important role you play, and you have such a wealth of knowledge about what it's like for people who are just stepping their toes into the world of Equus coaching. So thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing about your journey, and thanks for helping us be successful as a center.
Thank you, Travis.